Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Okay, good morning councillors and welcome to our meeting, the Ordinary Council for the 22nd of February 2022. I'd firstly like to open the meeting, welcome everyone for their attendance and acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge that we begin with the traditional custodians of the land in which we meet today, the Dalrymple people, and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to our neighbouring Aboriginal peoples within our local government area, the Gungaloo Nations people, the Barada, Cabelbarra and Yetamarala people. And I also acknowledge the Torres Strait Islander people whose lands are in the Torres Straits but who live and work in Aboriginal land. Thank you very much, councillors. We do have apologies and leave of absence for Councillor Rutherford that be granted leave for today for the 22nd for this meeting. I'm happy to move, seek and seconder, Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour, those opposed, motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, the confirmation of the previous minutes. Could I seek a recommendation that the meeting from the 8th of February 2022 be confirmed? Move Councillor Smith, seek a seconder. Councillor Mathers, I'll put that. Those in favour, those opposed, motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Declarations and interests on matters of the agendas, councillors. Councillor Smith.
Of course.
Oops, sorry. Oh, okay, sorry. In the special council meeting, I'll seek a mover and a seconder with regards to adopt those as a true and accurate record. Councillor Wickerson and seconded Councillor Kirkland. Put that. Those in favour. The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Sorry, my bad. I jumped that one. Declarations of interest in matters on the agendas. We have a number of declarations there. Firstly, Councillor Mathers, did you want to comment to that one?
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I have a declarable conflict of interest in item 8.1, petition conditions, condition of Hunt Road and Tea Tree Road, Baldercombe, as my cousin Sandra Borg and her husband Ian Borg own a property in the vicinity of the land identified in the petition. I propose to leave and stay away from the place where the meeting is being held while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Mathers. Second, Councillor Smith, you'd like to inform the meeting?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a declarable conflict of interest in item 10.4, Community Assistance Program Major Application. This arises as my nephew, Rhett McKinnon, is employed by Tennis Queensland as a Junior Development Officer and is associated with the Rockhampton Tennis Association. I propose to leave and stay away from the place where the meeting is being held while this matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Smith. Councillor Latcham?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Similarly, as Councillor Smith, I have a declarable conflict of interest in council meeting agenda item 10.4, Community Assistance Program Major Applications. This declarable conflict of interest arises as I have a family trust that owns a tennis complex, as declared previously, and I propose to leave and stay away from the place where the meeting is being held while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Latcham. Councillors, if there be no other declarations and if during the course of the proceedings of the meeting that you identify that there is another one, by all means raise that at any time. Is something there that we're able to record at that time. Okay, councillors, we'll move on to public forums, deputations nil, business outstanding nil. We'll move on to the presentations of petitions. So we might ask Councillor Mathers to move on that one. Okay, councillors, the petition's been presented on the urgent sealing of Hunt Road and Tea Tree Roads, Baldercombe. The recommendation that the petition requesting council urgently seal those and that their matter has been referred to the General Manager of Regional Service for investigation, taking into account budgetary constraints. Councillors, that's the officer's recommendation. Councillor Smith?
Oh, just a comment, Mr Mayor.
Yep.
On behalf of infrastructure, I did check and it is in the 2026-27 program. So if we can get it any...
It's in the forward budget program?
It's in the forward budget, yeah.
Okay.
For well, it was a 3-year budget that we got from the road people, and it's in the next one. So, yeah, it's been a constant request for that road. So,
Yep, okay. Well, councillors, I don't think the recommendation detracts from that budgetary one. I think it's prudent that the manager of regional services investigations take place and take into account that we have it already in the forward budget, so I'm sure that information will come back. But taking that to look and investigate that road will be prudent anyway. So, Councillor Smith, would you like to move as per officer's recommendation? Move, Councillor Smith. Do I seek a seconder? And Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Opposed? There's no further questions. Thanks, councillors. Yeah, unanimous. We'll invite Councillor Mathers back into the room. Thanks, Councillor Mathers. Moving on, item 9.9, councillor delegation reports nil. Officers' reports, item 10.1, the 2022 Rockhampton Agricultural Show Committee. Councillors, do we need an officer to report to that one? It's pretty much self-explanatory in the body of the report, the members of the group. Unless there's any questions to...
Seeing them on the committee?
No, it's a council-appointed role. Councillor Smith. Councillor Kirkland, question?
Mr Mayor, I'm just wondering, I would like to recommend, I'm not quite sure whether we can or not at this late stage, but I'd like to recommend that Councillor Mathers also be included in the committee. I think that he would be an awesome addition. It would be a great experience for him also to learn the way the events are presented to our community. It's something that he has very good experience in his past life. So I would like to recommend that he be added to the committee if he is willing, that is.
The ball's in your court, Councillor Mathers. Is that something you'd be interested in being involved in?
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I hadn't even thought about it, to tell you the truth. Look, it's something that I would be interested in. I'm just wondering, you know, how we're going in regards to the, you know, moving forward, how the show's going to look into the future. But yes, yeah, I'd be happy to be involved if there's room in the committee for that. I think I'd have something to add there.
Yeah, Greg, did you have a comment there?
Mayor and councillors, obviously any councillor would be welcome, but it's not a large committee, so the addition of one additional person is welcomed. As I say, you don't want the committee to be too large, but certainly 6 or 7 people is a good size, and to provide that oversight. So I have no problem, and would be more than comfortable for Councillor Mathers to join us.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Okay. That there, so you're happy to be involved in that, Councillor Mathers, and
thank you.
That's been put into the officer's recommendation. So could I seek a mover? Move, Councillor. Further question?
Just a comment. Well, actually, it is a question, Mr Mayor, if that's all right. Just around the show overall, came to my knowledge yesterday through a meeting that there are a number of councils who are either not able to present the show or otherwise because of insurance increases and also demands on the mandating of the show event. Could I just ask probably through you, Mr Mayor, to Greg, if that's something that we are also anticipating as being a hurdle, and whether it would be impacting our budget, and if so, to what degree, if that's able to be disclosed at this meeting?
Greg, a number of questions in that. Are you able to answer them on the fly, or would you like to get a bit more detail in regards to that, or time to respond?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to Councillor Kirkland and the Chamber, I'd probably like to take it on notice, not because I'm dodging the question, I just really don't want to answer it in half a fashion, so I'd rather have a better look at it. The team have been meeting regularly with different players. We're still comfortable the show can go ahead in its current form, but every year now we have this insurance discussion, and to a large degree that happens later in the discussion rather than earlier, and that's more because all of a sudden the show circuit gets started and the insurance question comes up again. So please, long answer, I'll take it on notice and come back to the chamber.
Okay, councillor, if
Yeah,
you could
that's
just
fine, thank you.
email that and make sure you capture all those questions through to Greg, and then
Will
we've
do.
got
I
that.
actually have already sent an email, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
righto.
thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you.
And that's awesome decision, councillor Mathers.
Councillor Smith, question?
Yeah, just a comment, Mr Mayor. From what I've read about the mandate, I would expect it could even be lifted by then, by the time our show comes along. I know the earlier shows, everyone's been watching to see what happened with them, and there was a comment, I don't know where, I think I read it on Facebook, so it would be true. This organisation always has a big fundraiser for charity at the showgrounds, and of course they couldn't have it, so they just moved about 200 metres down the road and had it at the school oval. And they said that's how ridiculous it is, really. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm sure we'll be guided by the requirements and get that information as it comes to hand, but thank you. So no further questions to that. Moved by Councillor Kirkland. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Latcham. Put that. Those in favour? Opposed? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to 10.2. The tender consideration there, councillors. Again, as in the report, I'm not sure if there's any questions with regards to that. It's a standard report and information detailed in that. So happy to move Councillor Fisher, who seek a seconder. Councillor Kirkland, I'll put that. Those in favour? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. 10.3, the federal pre-budget submission. Councillors, this is something that's requested from the federal government every year as they prepare their budgets. And what we've forwarded through, and after a lot of work and due diligence by the council and council officers with the 11 projects that we believe is to take our region forward, has been provided in that federal budget submission as part of that. And that said, even with the upcoming election for the candidates, those projects are there. If they're supported, well and good. If they're not, those projects are still a high priority for our council going forward. So they remain as a priority and something that the organisation and the council will be working forward to achieve. Question, Councillor Smith?
Yeah, it's probably, do I have a conflict with the Mount Morgan water security?
Councillor, this is a budget item. There's no conflicts in that. Is there a wider issue for the budget consideration and for the regional community? There's no conflicts at that level.
So similarly with the
I'm led to believe. That's exactly right, as their budget items and ones that have been considered in that space. Yeah.
I do have a question.
Yes, question.
Rockhampton Botanic Gardens and Zoo redevelopment. We have got funding for the entrance, haven't we?
Been successful funding for the Councillor Fisher. Did you? No.
For
The money there has money been allocated.
I just wondered what else we're looking for with this.
There's a major master plan for the Zoo and Botanic Gardens that's been adopted by council, and there's a 10-year plan, and over that 10-year plan there's different stages that needs upgrades to the zoo and Botanic Gardens, and part of that is seeking funding from the federal and state government and other levels of government to help assist council with those projects as we go forward. That said, our budget's in a reshaping phase, and as we move forward, those other levels of government funding will become critical for those project stages to be delivered. So we make those submissions subject to that approval and delivery of those.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And just another question, Mr Mayor. With Flynn, Glenroy Road corridor upgrades, the Glenroy crossing seems to have dropped off the list.
That's part of that project, councillor.
That does include that.
That's it. Yep. Again, we've got that in the Rossi funding as well, subject to that money being successful or not. This is another area that we'll continue to advocate for. We see there's a need there for that project to go forward. Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Similar theme as Councillor Smith. With Mount Morgan, Poole and Flint, I think when this priority list was first put together, we hadn't got notification that we were successful with that funding. Is there more work that we need to do above and beyond what we've already received? or is there something else on the list for Flynn that was just off the priority that could be now bumped up?
My understanding is that it's a $6 million project in total. We've received $4 million in funding, so the remaining was the other component of that to take it forward. That said, I think there's work still to come back to the table on that project. Lisa, would you like to?
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct. So we currently still have an support. We could then use those funds for other projects.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, if there are no further questions around that one, I'm happy to move. Seek a seconder. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Councillor Fisher. Put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 10.4. Community Assistance Program, major application. We have councillors that have a recorded conflict there, so we'll ask them to leave the room.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors.
Thanks, Alicia.
So we've received an application from the Rockhampton Tennis Association to hold a tournament in Rockhampton on the 2nd and 3rd of April. They're attracting, I guess, what they're saying is that the prize money that will be on offer is a substantial amount. So, and just for clarification there, that's 10,000 prize money across all pools. It's not individual pools. It's just not quite clear in that report. My apologies. So with that, that will bring in other players from all around the state. So it is recommended, Mr. Chair, that we provide $3,000 sponsorship.
Okay, thanks, Alicia. I think the resurgence in the tennis world with our champion Ash Barty, a true Queenslander, doing it good on the stage there for the Australian Open. So I think there is a real interest in tennis, and I think that's great to see. And having such a fantastic facility as we do on our doorstep, it's great to see us being able to support that. Councillor Wickerson, question?
Thanks, Mayor. I think we've spoken before. Sometimes we overlook sports tourism as a major economic driver too. We look at every other form of tourism and nature tourism, whatever, but sport is an amazing thing that even, as this report says, if you get kids come along to play, well, their parents come and their minders and whatever, and they still got to have accommodation nights and whatever. But the question is, they talk about how many people they were able to attract even during COVID. In their submission, did they have an estimate of what they might attract for this, or have I missed that in the report? I gather it's more than what they've...
No, they talked about the 240 participants during COVID, so they're expecting more for this year, but no, they haven't given a projection.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be great for the region and accommodation that's crying out for more bed nights, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. And there's another bonus too. I think it's the health and well-being of playing sport. I don't think that's captured enough, and it's something there that traditionally the Rockhampton region has supported sports in general as a regional centre. I think it's something there we can improve in the years to come going forward, but it's a great initiative to get children and adults into sport and for their health benefits as well. Okay, you happy to move, Councillor Wickerson? Seconded, Councillor Kirkland. Put that, if there are no further questions, I'll put that. Those in favour? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll invite the other councillors back into the meeting. Council, we move on to 10.5, the Communities and Cultural Sole Provider Provisions. Thank you, Mark. There you go.
Hello. Yes, this is, in summary, Council presents an annual program of exhibitions and performances, and it is necessary to resolve that it would be impractical for Council to invite quotes for the content and physical productions. The recommendation is that Council is satisfied that there is only one supplier who is reasonably available, and that because of the specialised nature of the services that are sought, it would be impractical for Council to invite quotes for the supply of the productions, exhibitions and services detailed in the report. The most important part, I think, is in the commentary there. There's a paragraph which relates to the actual legislation there. of the local government regulation, when contracting to present these productions, it is by the nature of the activity not possible to obtain more than one quotation for the supply of entertainers or act, and therefore necessary under Chapter 6, Part 3, Division 3, Clause 235 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, to have Council resolve both or either that it is satisfied that there is only one supplier who is reasonably available, and because of the specialised or confidential nature of the services that are sought, it would be impractical or disadvantageous for the local government to invite quotes or tender.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, questions? Councillor Wickerson.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. Look, happy to support this, and I just want to comment that it shows what, with the great facilities that we have, what diversity of high-level talent we can attract to our community, so they don't have to travel away to see high-class events. So I'm still looking forward to seeing some of those myself.
Thank you. You happy to move, Councillor Wickerson? Councillors, any questions? No. Seconded, Councillor Smith. Councillor Wickerson, and seconded Councillor Smith. Just adding a reason around that sole provider provision, councillors, into the regulations there on their report. Okay, thank you, councillors. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Moving on to item 10.6, the YWCA lease. Thank you, Alicia.
Councillors, we've received a request from the YWCA, who currently own a building that is on council-controlled land over in Robinson Street, Bersica. And what they would like to do is surrender their lease. It was due to expire 2023, so they would like to get out of that lease. And so the conditions of that lease, councillors, is that at the end of the lease, the building reverts to council ownership. So the recommendation here is that we allow the early termination of the lease, and that you authorise the CEO / myself to negotiate with the YWCA in terms of that early surrender, as well as that smooth transition to ensure excuse me, that the users of the buildings will continue, or the uses of the buildings, and so that is maintained. Now, the judgment in this report, councillors, is really around the current users of that building are receiving quite a lot of frustration. The YWCA are in a viewpoint that they don't want to have this building any longer. They're not in the, business of providing community facilities. They're more along the path of community housing is where they're heading. So there is genuine interest in that building and wanting to make it better and improve the conditions, but because of the short-term lease arrangement that is left, they've been continually frustrated on that front to get cooperation from the YWCA. So that's, the judgment behind that recommendation. So from here, once with your approval, then we'll sort of put in place some dates and some condition, some minimum condition standards and different pieces. That's all handed back to council to make sure that that's done properly, as well as those users are continuing uses. Any questions, councillors?
Alicia, yeah, I know that there's, how long would that take to get that terms agreed to or work through with the Y?
So we've done quite a lot of work already leading up to this point, Mr Mayor, so I would suggest within sort of 2 months, and it's really about the ongoing. So from here, there's a little bit of work to do to bring it up to a minimum compliance standard so that that building can continue its uses under council ownership. But then it's also about putting in place some management arrangements going forward. Now, I do expect then to come back to council with a decision over what we will ultimately do with the building, which is another, more detailed report over our choices on that.
Yeah, I'm not very confident that we'll see funds coming towards us on that level for the for the maintenance on it if it's been neglected for so many years to the point that it's at this stage. But I think we need to try, and I think it's only responsible for the Y to maintain those buildings over those times that they've had that lease. So it's not a really advantageous situation just to run it down and then hand it back to council. So that'd be my comments. But I have a number of lights on and some questions through to yourself, Alicia. So firstly, Councillor Wickerson, then Councillor Kirkland. Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, man. I agree with you. I applaud that we're going to attempt to negotiate with the Y. I'm not overly confident that how that might go because it's only a little over a year till the lease expires. So I'm concerned that they might just hang on to it for that year. I know that a lot of their funds are going out to other avenues that they're following, but absolutely worth a try as long as it doesn't hold up proceedings. Because I think from our conversations with the boxing representative that they claim that they have some opportunities for in-kind support from outside, which is sort of being held up because they don't have full tenure. It's sort of just a fairly loose arrangement, I think, that they've got at the moment, and they were absolutely frustrated and passionate to move forward. So while I think we should go through the negotiation process, that as long as it doesn't take too long and we don't hold up or frustrate the boxing people more.
Yeah, that was my thoughts and asking that question at the start, the timelines around that. So I'd be keen to have some type of a date around that. Councillor Kirkland.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, to Alicia, I'd just like to ask what you have identified as risks in continuing to negotiate, apart from, of course, the fact that we get landed with all of those repairs, but in ownership of the building, if that was to continue and go through. Are there any other risks that you've identified, and could you highlight those for me?
Councillor, through the Mayor, those risks are fairly minor, and it does come back to some minor compliance repairs. In terms of those risks, the building is being used now. The YWCA have already, I guess, accepted those risks for the current condition. So when it comes down to it, it may be an acceptance of similar risks for council. And I need to work through those in some detail with the facilities unit, so I can't go into those today. Or it might be that we put a little bit of money into it to keep it going for a lead. But, you know, it's kind of less than $50,000 is the ballpark.
Okay, thanks, councillors. No further questions. Alicia, is there a timeline? Would you be able to put a timeline on it at all, or do you think it's just waiting for those negotiations to happen?
I wouldn't like to, Mr Mayor. Certainly I got an email from them following up yesterday, so they're super keen to get out of it. It's just, you know, how much. There is some fire compliance that they've acknowledged already that they need to come into, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we look forward to that further report coming as soon as possible, Alicia. Yep. Thank you. Okay, councillors, if there's no further questions, could I seek a mover and a second with the officer's recommendation? Move Councillor Kirkland, seconded Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Move on to item 10.7, a National Flood Mitigation Infrastructure Program 21-22. Over to Martin to walk us through that report, councillors. Thanks, Martin.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Morning, councillors. Hopefully this will be a very quick report. Councillors might recall that a matter of maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, council endorsed the submission of the Archer Street Drainage Project under the Preparing Australian Communities program, a federally funded program. Very recently, at the start of this month, I received a phone call from the Queensland Reconstruction Authority wanting to submit it under a separate program that is only available to the state and territory governments. Under this program, it actually ends up being a better financial position for council. The original one is a 60-40 split between the federal government and council. Under this particular program, it's a 75%, 25% split. Given council's support for the submission of the project under the previous program, very similar to this program, and given they gave me 2 days to come up with the information, I went ahead and submitted on council's behalf, so I'm now retrospectively seeking council's endorsement for that same project, but under a different funding program.
Yes, that's the type of news we like to hear. If we can make some savings in our budgets going forward, it makes sense. And this is a much-needed project that can help residents in that space. So I think it's a great outcome, subject to being approved. So making that application financially will be a better outcome for us all. Okay, councillors, questions to Martin on that one? If not, it's pretty self-explanatory. Councillor Mathers, question?
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I do have a question through you to Martin, if that's all right, and hopefully you can fill me in on this. Sorry, once again, it's just my inexperience with this stuff, Martin. So it's great to see, and hopefully we'll get that $5 million. But the question I have, obviously, if we were to get the $5 million, we've got to pull 1.5 million forward from out of our, I think it was 23-24 budget, or 23-24 budget, to find that 1.5. So that means there'll be some project there that we'll have to push back, which I understand. So obviously there'll be something will be prioritised or deprioritised. The question I've got, but is if we get that money, that means that our capital budget is up $5 million. So we've got $5 million there that we could spend on another project. I understand that we probably have a list of projects waiting there to be moved forward. But how do they get prioritised? Is that, do the officers sit down and work through that, or?
Yes, through the chair. It's probably a couple of years ago now, might have been before your time, Councillor Mather joining council, that council officers went through a stormwater prioritisation process, which the council adopted, and it's sort of a weightings and ratings type scenario that's based around, generally around impact on habitable portions of buildings and those sorts of things, number of properties impacted and things like that. So we do actually have a prioritised list of projects. This particular project is one of the higher scoring projects because of the number of, I suppose, properties that it reduces the flooding impacts for, and it also lends itself as a precursor to resolving some of the issues we experience in the lower portions of the main drain system. So it's sort of diverting almost at the headwaters of the main drain, is diverting a portion of that flow and taking it to the river. But the short answer is yes, there is a prioritisation process. We keep that basically in my office through my stormwater and flood management engineering people.
Okay.
I think that was a tally of about $60 million worth of projects.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
and
that was the short list. There's a
the
long
short
list.
list.
So, yeah, all right. And so you'd use that same methodology to work out where that other $5 million was going to be spent.
Yeah, I mean, we in those outer years, we just have at the moment a budget, a lump sum, essentially associated with stormwater improvements.
Understand.
And that list reports to that fund.
Yep.
That
Okay,
budget.
thanks very much for that.
Okay, councillors, no further questions to move. The chair, Councillor Smith. Could I seek a seconder? Councillor Mathers, those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 10.8, the summary budget management report for the period ending the 31st of January. Thanks very much, Marnie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and good morning, everyone. So presented to Council today is the summary budget management report for the period to the 31st of January 2022. You will note that we are 58.3% into the budget after those 7 months to the end of January. Our operating revenue is looking quite positive at 85%, due mainly to our rates and utilities charges being at 96% of the budget having been levied. Our rent and lease revenue is at 53%, and our interest revenue is slightly ahead of budget at 62%. Our operating revenue is sitting around the 54% of the adopted budget, so currently under. Contractors and consultants are at 47%. Materials and plant are slightly over budget at 60%, and asset operationals are within budget at 52%. It is also worth noting, councillors, that our arrears of rates to the end of January were under 2%, so it's probably the lowest that we've seen for quite a while. And we currently, as at the end of January, in regards to the land sales, we had 32 properties left that were subject to those land sales for arrears of rates, which we're still working through. That auction will occur mid-March for those properties that remain in that list of land sales. So just in terms of other items in the financial report, total capital income is sitting at 43% of the monthly budget, whereas the capital expenditure, as we've widely discussed, is low at 24%. Those capital expenditure items are currently under review, with Council releasing the budget packs for the capital works due back on the 10th of March, so that will cover the transfers or the movement of capital in 21-22 and 22-23 and beyond. So managers and staff are looking at those capital packs at the moment. Total investments are sitting at $79.5 million as at the end of January, and investment and loans are $133.6 million. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Marnie. Questions to Marnie, councillors? Anything on the budget summary? If not, Marnie, just a question on the. I'm not sure whether you'll be able to answer it off at this moment. Are people paying their rates online, and that have we continue to push that that option and looking at even people instalments of their rate notices throughout the year by over the internet and the like?
Yes, I believe that the rate staff and also our customer service staff will be having those discussions with ratepayers as they ring up, particularly at this point in time because the rates are out for the second half year, due on the 9th of March. So yes, they will be having those discussions. We are also trying to make people or encourage people through contact through our customer service centres to go to e-notices, do some things online and demonstrate to them how simple it can be so that they get an understanding of being able to do that themselves.
Yeah, no, I think things with YouTubes and things like that, it may be some way we can start to promote that by doing a demonstration about how what's involved in it and how easy it can be going forward. That couldn't hurt, I don't think, to encourage people. If we get an older generation, it maybe explain a little bit more in when people visualise it, that able to take those steps. But I think if we can encourage more people to take up those options, it'll benefit the organisation.
Yeah, sure.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. People get a little bit confused. They think that it's set up here at council from their bank account, but we send them to their bank to set it up. But what happens when they first go on, or from my experience anyway, people at Gracemere, they know how much they've paid and yet that their rates are higher. They don't understand that period from when we cut off to send the rates, they don't understand they're always going to be in credit if they're right up to date.
If they're up to date.
It's the same as your power bill or whatever. You get your power bill review, you're paying that, or your phone bill, whatever it is. There's a little credit there that doesn't appear on your statement, but we don't actually show what they've paid. I think that confuses people.
Yeah.
Through the chair, I'll just respond to that, Councillor Smith. So up to a certain point in time, the payments are recognised on the notice, but there is generally a comment on the notice that anything received after a certain date. No, don't quote me, I'm not sure whether this is the actual date, but I thought it was about the 18th of January that it won't actually be recognised on the notice. So there will need to be contact made with council for those people who have already been paying those in advance to just confirm the outstanding amount that they have remaining.
Yeah, that's right.
Can I just ask, and so say they've got a $100 credit from when we closed off to when they pay, they can't take that amount off their rate notice because otherwise the rate notice wouldn't be paid in full? Is that right?
No, that's correct. Like that, if it's for the actual notice period to the 30th of June, which if we look over the full year and they don't have a credit for the full year or the full amount, they can't have that money back. But if they do have funds that are sitting there that are surplus to their outstanding account, then they can certainly come to council and we can return those funds back to them.
Or carry it over into the next...
Or
Yeah.
or keep them there.
Yeah.
Some people request to have them back, some people keep them there as a credit.
Okay, no worries. I thought it's just something there that we could talk about as we work through our budget process going forward. Councillors, no questions, any further questions of Marnie? I'm happy to move officer's recommendation. Seek a seconder. Seconded Councillor Fisher. I'll put that. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Uh, 10.9, the sale of access of restriction strip to the Department of Transport and Main Roads, Yamba Road. Councillors, did we need... Oh, Kelly, did you want to speak to that report, please?
Thank you, Mr Chair. So just briefly, good morning, councillors. The Transport and Main Roads approached council wanting to locate a noise barrier fence on a council access restriction strip. It's only 20 centimetres wide. The intent is that we will sell the land to them and they would convert to road reserve, so that fence would therefore be on the state-controlled road.
Thanks, Kelly. Questions? Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. 3 years through to Kelly. Just a question about the noise barriers. Where you've got accesses in Mereland and McAfer Street, do they block them off, or is there still that access through to the main highway?
Through the Chair, Councillor Latcham, I'm not sure on the actual construction of the noise barrier, so I'm just dealing with the land. I would assume that the noise barrier still allows pedestrian access if it's safe in all their planning, but I couldn't comment for sure.
Might take that question on notice and put that through to TMR anyway, if that's okay. Okay, councillors, any further questions to Kelly on that report at all? Okay, could I seek a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Kirkland. Councillor Smith, Councillor Kirkland. We right? I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 10.10, the sale of council land, 12 Port Curtis Road. Again, Kelly, would you like to speak to that report, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr Chair. This report is in relation to council-owned land at 12 Port Curtis Road at Port Curtis. The adjoining owner has approached council wanting to purchase the land. Because there's only one other adjoining owner and the land is not suitable for development due to the number of reasons outlined in the report, council, we also obtained in writing from the adjoining owner that they did not want to purchase the land and didn't object to the sale. The proposed sale would be, the price would be determined by independent valuation report, and of course the land would be amalgamated with the purchaser's adjoining land to create one land holding. Any development proposed by the purchaser would just go through our normal town planning approval process as anyone else would. Any
Yeah,
questions?
and that's funded by the purchaser, not the council at all, Kelly?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So at the moment, the purchaser indicated that they would just like additional land for their horses, but any future development proposal would just go through the normal process.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Latcham, question?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. It's a question through to Marnie, if I could. If this was to be approved and it became one lot, what would be the financial benefit to council by selling this land? Would it improve the rates on the property, or do they still pay the bare minimum, of which there is no benefit to council?
Are you able to answer that one on the fly?
Oh, through the chair, sorry. Just in relation to the rates, well, because it's owned by council currently, we're not effectively receiving any. So it would be probably a minimum valued rate that we would get from those parcels if they were sold to the adjoining owner.
They'd be rated as we go forward. Once it's amalgamated with the other block, it'd be rated as an entire block. So that valuation would be a revaluation of the block and subject to the the revaluation would be the overall rates.
I'd probably suggest it wouldn't meet the threshold, the minimum threshold, even with joining it on, because it's only, obviously you can't develop on the land, so as a rural, I'm not sure it's not worth much land, and obviously when they sell it, it's probably going to sell it for a very low amount.
It's probably not a lot. We're not going to gain a lot because we're not we're not really
it's
getting
really
anything
not.
out, so there's no disadvantage by it.
So my question is probably forward thinking: is that land has a better use? For example, as an area for gum trees or whatever for the zoo, is that something council may consider? Just otherwise, we're just giving land away that we get no benefit out of.
It's sale. You've got to sell the land. It's not giving it away. It's on the fair market price for that value.
But it will only be a small amount of money.
I guess through the chair, the issue will be is that we won't have any ongoing maintenance. The lot is severely affected by flood. It's not really of any value to council. I think to retain it, Councillor Latcham, I think the best option would be to dispose of it to the adjoining owner.
And Councillor Latcham, it goes around to all the department and officers to make comment whether they see any value or any use for that land going forward. And if it comes back as something that's not in the public interest or any use for that going forward, then they support the sale. If there is some type of need, if it's infrastructure or parks or community use, then there'll be a comment from the department that would highlight that, and you'd see that in the body of the report. But as I say, the land is really not very valuable land in general, and like you say, the maintenance for us to maintain it going forward, there's a saving going there. Councillor Wickerson.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. Just through you, probably to Kelly, I think. In the report, it talks about one of the requirements for this arrangement is that they amalgamate with that land. Does that also mean amalgamating all their existing lots together? Like there's a number of their, it looks like individual lots.
Subdivided.
I guess none of our business, but there'd be some savings for them with fire levy and things like that, I would imagine too. So is that the...
Kelly, are you able to answer that one?
Chair, yes, so the proposed purchaser only has one adjoining lot, and the council allotments, there is 6 of them. So all of the 6 would be amalgamated with the purchaser's one lot, so it'd all be in one lot together.
Yeah. Oh, okay, understood.
Okay.
Yep, no, thank you.
Right, councillors, questions finished. I'll seek a mover in a second with regards to the officer's recommendation. Move Councillor Kirkland. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, we're moving on to the notice of motions. Nil. Questions on notice? Nil. Urgent business questions? Nil. Closed session. Oh, Councillor Fisher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I noticed just in the last couple of days there's been a federal government of putting out applications for planting of avenues or trees to mark the anniversary of Queen Elizabeth. And as we weren't able to do all of our tree planting that we'd hoped, there's an opportunity there for up to $20,000 for an avenue of trees. It would be really great to see if we could actually identify sites within the Mount Morgan, within the Gracemere and the Rockhampton, that we could actually have a planting or an avenue where government money could be used, and that will help to add to more canopy cover.
I'm sure there's that work's already been done. I think Councillor Fisher, where we were looking at where we were going to invest that money. So I think it makes sense because we had to remove it out of the budget. If there's opportunities to seek other levels of government funding to achieve the same goal, then that makes sense. But Alicia, would we be able to apply for that, or?
Yeah, Councillor Fisher, did you want to? I missed the start of that. Did you want to send me the details through?
Do that. It's only just a very short notice time as well.
Okay. Yep, if you send those details, that'd be great.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Fisher. Councillor Wickerson?
Thanks, Mayor. I probably should have had this at the beginning with the council reports, but just a quick verbal report on Anzac Day planning. Really quickly, I think you've circulated some already that we've had our inaugural meeting for this year, at least for Anzac Day planning. It was resolved that we would not have a civic reception. I think you've all seen, maybe Grant, you haven't. We had a third element of Anzac Day, which was out the front here. Wasn't terribly well attended. It was sort of after all the other events. It's already a long day, and the general consensus was that public felt it was a special thing that they had to be specially invited to, so it wasn't terribly well attended. There's also a risk that if we do have that, people that may have gone to the dawn service might just hold that up to get up so early and come to the later one, so you're only robbing from yourself. So, and then there's council resources and other to carry that on. There's cost of bands and marquees to put up and staff to run it, so it was resolved to stop that part of it, and there wasn't any objection from the many groups that are involved in the march and other ceremonies, so that was pretty clear. The other element we've got at the moment with COVID restrictions, at present schools can't have off-campus excursions, which Anzac Day Parade would qualify as, but I think Anzac Day is just in the new term. They come back after the holidays and then it's on, so conditions around that from Chief Health Officer may well change by then, but all we can do is plan ahead with it, communicate with the schools which we're planning to see what their intent is, and act as if it's going to be clear, and if not at the 11th hour, well then we have to take contingency actions, but at the moment we're just planning ahead. And the route is the same. I think last time we changed it to end up along Key Street, which we thought worked terribly well. You could have more people down there, and they hung around afterwards for celebrations and whatever. So, yeah, all systems go at this stage.
Yeah, well, thanks very much, Councillor Wickerson, and thank you for your work involved in that and working with the group to do that. Just some breaking news, councillors, that the mask setting, the requirement to wear masks will no longer be required after Friday the 4th of March. So we're starting to head into a bit of normality at long last, so hopefully we can see other restrictions lifted as we move further forward. So again, thanks Councillor Wickerson, and thanks for that update. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, look, thanks to Councillor Fisher for bringing up that tree planting, because I read that with interest as well. But I sort of thought it wasn't like for council, it was for non-profit groups, and that's all fine, but how do they maintain those trees? You know, they haven't got the capacity. So I sent it to Graceby Community Voice, and they're very interested, because we've got a program of beautifying Graceby. But also, the second one I've got, I read it somewhere, and I think I cut out the piece of paper, I can't remember now, or I haven't delved into my box of stuff. There was grant funding available for women statues of women that have done well in sport, etc. Because I think they probably think there's enough footballer statues and live, of the men. And I just wondered if we should look at that for Anna Mears. Anna Mears on her bike would be a wonderful statue for Rockhampton.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's women in general, any recognition there, and if there's that opportunity there for some funding to come through, then we'd have a look at a report and how that could eventuate. So,
have we got a grant person that could look that up?
Alicia, is there we do? Yeah. Okay, we might look at some further investigation into that, and I think it'd be a report, be prudent to look at our athletes and the women in that space and what we've done. Not only athletes, but other areas of our community as well. Okay, councillors, no further urgent questions or business. We'll move on to closed session. We've got an item there, 15.1, property matter. And the meeting will need to move into closed session to discuss the following item in pursuant of Local Government Regulations 2012 through the reasons indicated that in accordance with section 254J3G the Local Government Act 2012 considered it necessary to close the meeting to discuss negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government in which public discussions would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. Can I have a mover and a seconder with regards to that? Move Councillor Kirkland, second Councillor Mathers. Put that. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. And Councillor, I'll need a mover and a seconder. We move into closed session. Move Councillor Mathers, second Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move into closed session.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody...
Okay, thanks, councillors. Could I seek a mover and a seconder with regards to the officer's recommendation? Move Councillor Wickerson, seconded Councillor Mathers. Any discussion, councillors? If not, I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? I'll have those record those in opposition to that. The motion is carried, and that said, councillors, there be no further items on the agenda. I'll close the meeting and thank you all for your attendance. Thank you.